The room smelled of smoke, wet wool, and ink. They had dragged tables in from 3 different chambers because nothing in the Red Keep was built for men who needed space to breathe. Maps lay overlapped like scars. Letters sat in piles weighted by daggers and candlesticks, their wax seals broken like snapped bones. The rookery had been busy all night, ravens rising and vanishing into the dark with the realm's fate tied to their legs. Robert lay on a litter close enough to the table that he could slam a fist on it if he wanted. He wanted. Every time Stannis opened his mouth, Robert wanted. The wound in his side throbbed in time with his temper, and he had started to suspect the gods had stitched them together on purpose. "Renly crowned," Stannis said, voice like a blade drawn slow. "With Tyrell's strength behind him, he has committed treason in the open. There can be no half measures now." Ned's eyes were bloodshot from sleeplessness. He read the same line again, as if repetition could make it less true. "He crowned himself while Robert lives," Ned said. "He will call it necessity. He will say Robert is unfit." "Robert is alive," Davos said quietly, as if that were the only argument that mattered. Stannis' mouth tightened. "Alive," he echoed, "bleeding, weak, carried like a babe. A king who cannot sit his own throne invites challengers." Robert bared his teeth. "Keep talking," he rasped. "I'll invite my fist to your mouth." Barristan Selmy did not look amused. He looked tired. "Lord Stannis," he said, "the realm sees a wounded king who still holds King's Landing, who has seized the queen, who has named an heir. That matters. It matters until the next Raven," Stannis snapped. "Until Tywin sends his banners. Until Renly marches. Until the small folk believe whatever story keeps them from starving." Ned's hand moved across the map, fingertips tracing roads. "We cannot fight 3 wars at once," he said. "Not with the Crown's forces divided and the city still unsettled. We must choose the immediate threat," Davos said. "And the immediate threat is the one that can reach us first." Stannis' eyes were hard. "Tywin," he said. "He will come. Tywin will come." Robert agreed, and the certainty in his voice settled the room like a weight. "But he won't come on our schedule. Renly's nearer than you think. Once he gathers Storm's End, he can march along the Rose Road and be at our gates with a parade of banners before Tywin's first outriders reach the Trident. Then we declare him traitor and call the Storm Lords," Stannis said. "Every man in the Stormlands owes fealty to the Baratheon line, not to Renly's pretty crown." Robert's jaw flexed. "And if the Storm Lords choose him anyway?" he asked. "If they see your face and his smile and decide they'd rather feast than freeze?" Stannis did not blink. "Then they hang," he said. Ned closed his eyes for a heartbeat, as if the words physically pained him. "That is exactly what Renly will sell," he said, opening them again. "Stannis the hangman, Stannis the hard king. And he will point to Cersei in chains and say Robert has fallen under his brother's cruelty and Stark's northern cold." "Let him say it," Robert growled. "I'll shout louder." Barristan leaned over the map. "We must move the children," he said. "Myrcella and Tommen cannot stay in the Red Keep. Too many cracks. Too many men with cause to take them." Ned's eyes sharpened. "Not Storm's End," he said at once. "No," Stannis agreed, surprising Ned. "Storm's End is Renly's seat in all but name now. If we send them there, we deliver hostages to a pretender's doorstep." Robert exhaled through his nose. "Dragonstone," he said. Stannis' head snapped up. "Dragonstone is mine," he said. "And you are my heir," Robert replied. "So it will do."
Ned hesitated.
"If we send them to Dragonstone," he said, "the realm will say Stannis holds them to compel obedience. It will feed Renly's song." "Better a song than a knife," Barristan said. "And Dragonstone is difficult to reach without ships." Davos nodded. "I can take them," he said. "Quiet. No bump. A fast ship. Night tide." Stannis' gaze flicked to Davos, then to Robert. Something in his posture eased, a fraction. "If they go," he said, They go under Kingsguard escort and faith oversight. No one can claim I keep them in some dungeon.
Fine Robert rasped.
Put Septons on the ship if you like. Give them a whole damned sept if it keeps tongues quiet. Just get them out. Ned's mouth was tight. And Cersei? He asked. Robert's eyes went flat. She stays caged, he said. No visitors. No letters. No sweet little messages that slither through servants' hands. If she speaks at her trial. If she needs air, she can breathe it through bars. Stannis' satisfaction was immediate. Good, he said. Ned looked away. He thought of Myrcella's face when Cersei shouted her name. He thought of Tommen's sobbing. He thought of how easy it was to hate a lioness until you saw her cubs flinch. We must announce Joffrey's flight, Ned said. Publicly. If we do not, Tywin will shape it first. Robert's hand tightened on the edge of the litter. I will announce it, he said, from the Red Keep's walls. Let the city hear me call him what he is. Stannis' mouth twisted. A bastard, he said. Robert's gaze burned. A fugitive, he corrected, voice low and dangerous. My humiliation is my own. I won't gift Renly and Tywin my shame like a banner. The boy is not my blood, but I raised him in my house. If I call him bastard in every street, the realm will not hear law. They will hear a king spitting in his own face. Stannis looked as if he might argue. Davos cleared his throat softly. There's another thing, Davos said. If Joffrey is loose, he becomes a flag. Some men will follow him even if they know the truth. Men like simple stories. Ned's fingers curled into a fist. Then we give them a simpler story, he said. Robert lives. The CR. Own stands. Treason will be punished. The realm will not be led by a boy on the run. Robert stared at the map again. Roads, rivers, castles. A world that used to feel like it belonged to him. Now it felt like it belonged to whoever could keep standing when the blood got deep. Send Davos tonight, he said. Myrcella and Tommen go to Dragonstone under Barristan's chosen men. No dilas. Stannis, write to your Stormlords. Call them by law, not by threat. Remind them who held Storm's End when it mattered. Stannis' jaw tightened, but he nodded once. And Ned, Robert said, eyes finding him. You write to Winterfell. Tell Catelyn the girls are coming north. Tell Robb to keep his sword sheathed unless he must draw it. I don't need the North marching south on rumor and rage. Ned's throat worked. I will, he said. Robert closed his eyes, exhaustion and pain pulling at him. But when he spoke again, his voice was iron. And when Tywin comes, he said, I want the realm already knowing which side is the king's. No more surprises. No more spiders. No more lions slipping through cracks. He opened his eyes. We make them come at us in the open, he said. Let's see how brave they are when there's nowhere left to hide. The dock beneath the Red Keep was not meant for Queen's children. It was meant for barrels of wine and sacks of grain and men who did not want their comings and goings counted. The stones there were slick, the air heavy with river damp and tar. A hooded lantern burned low, its light caught and swallowed by the blackwater like a secret. Myrcella held Tommen's hand so tightly his fingers went numb. He kept hiccuping on the edge of tears, trying not to cry because Myrcella's brave silence made him ashamed. His cheeks were still wet, and the salt stung where the wind touched them. Are we going to Mother? He whispered. Myrcella swallowed. The lie rose easily. Mother is waiting. Mother will hold you. Mother will make this right. But she had learned today that lies were how adults killed each other politely. I don't know, she said softly, but we're going somewhere safe. Barristan Selmy walked beside them, white cloak a pale streak in the dark. He moved with a gentleness that looked strange on a man whose hands had just bled the holdfast's corridors. He did not touch them, but his presence was a wall. Davos Seaworth waited by the ship, a lean silhouette with sea salt in his beard and a face that looked carved by weather. The vessel itself sat ready, small, fast, sails furled for now or stowed. It was the kind of ship that did not announce itself with banners. simply vanished into night. Two septons stood near the gangplank, prayer beads clicking softly in trembling fingers. Their faces were pale, eyes darting as if expecting crossbow bolts from the shadows. "My lord," Davos murmured to Barristan, dipping his head. "We're ready. Tide's right. If we push now, we're clear of the bay before the moon climbs." Barristan's gaze swept the dock one last time. Stark men held the outer corners, silent and hard-eyed. Gold cloaks under bywater watched the stare. No one spoke above a murmur. Every sound felt like bait. Myrcella glanced back toward the stairs. The red keep rose above them like a mountain of stone. Somewhere inside it, her mother was in chains. Somewhere inside it, her brother was gone, stolen by fog and men's hands. Somewhere inside it, men argued about whether she was a princess or a hostage. She hated them all in that moment, even the ones whose hands were gentle. "Will father come?" Tommen whispered. Barristan's jaw tightened slightly. His grace will remain," he said carefully. "He must." Tommen's lip trembled. "I want to go home," he said. Myrcella squeezed his hand. "This is home," she said, though it tasted wrong. "We were born here." Tommen shook his head harder, tears finally spilling. "Not this," he whimpered. "Not swords." Davos's eyes softened, just a fraction. "Best you learn early," he murmured, mostly to himself. "Swords always find king's children." Barristan gestured to the gangplank. "Up," he said gently. Quickly, Myrcella stepped onto the plank first, forcing her feet steady. The wood creaked under her weight. Tommen followed, stumbling once when a gust of wind slapped his cloak against his legs. On the deck, the ship's captain, a hard-faced man with a scar like a rope burn, bowed stiffly. "Lady," he said. He did not say princess. Myrcella noticed. She did not correct him. A septon began to murmur a prayer, voice shaking. "Seven keep you," he whispered. "Seven guide you." Myrcella looked out at the river, black and endless. "Do the seven keep mother?" she asked before she could stop herself. The septon's lips moved soundlessly. He did not answer. Barristan's gaze went toward the keep. "The gods do what they will," he said quietly. "Men must do what they must." Davos snapped an order. Ropes were cast off. The ship eased away from the stone with barely a sound, as if the river itself were helping it flee. Tommen clutched the railing, eyes wide, watching the dock recede. Myrcella stood beside him, chin lifted, refusing to cry where men could see. The septons murmured. The sailors worked in practiced silence. Behind them, torches flickered faintly along the red keep's walls. Ahead, the river opened like a throat, and somewhere in the dark between, a child's world narrowed to the simple, brutal truth of flight. You move, or you are taken. The Tower of the Hand was not a dungeon, but it could pretend. Cersei sat on the narrow bed and listened to the tower's sounds. The distant clank of a lock, the soft scuff of boots outside her door, the faint murmur of voices that fell silent whenever she pressed her ear closer. It was a quieter cage than Maegor's, but it was a cage all the same. Her wrists ached. Rope had bitten deep, and the bruises were darkening into ugly bands beneath her skin. She flexed her fingers slowly, testing. Pain answered. She welcomed it. Pain was honest. Men were not. A bowl of water sat on the floor, the surface trembling slightly whenever someone passed outside. She stared at her own reflection in it and hated the way it looked. Smudged, blurred, diminished. "They took them," she said aloud, because the words clawed in her chest if she did not speak them. The guard outside the bars shifted. He did not answer. Stark men had been instructed well. No talk, no sympathy, no anger. Treat the lioness like stone. Stone did not bite. Cersei smiled faintly. Stone cracked. "Do you know," she asked softly, "what happens to men who keep quiet when their betters speak? They become the floor. They get stepped on." The guard's jaw tightened. Still no answer. Cersei leaned back against the cold stone wall and closed her eyes, forcing her mind to work in spite of exhaustion. Joffrey was gone. that mattered more than chains. Joffrey was the blade she had thrown into the dark. If it struck true, the realm would bleed in her direction. If it struck wrong, it would be caught and snapped. Myrcella and Tommen were taken. That mattered because love was not only softness, it was leverage. Whoever held them could speak to her with their hands around her heart. Robert had sent them away. She had seen it in his eyes, heard it in his roar. He had discovered something dangerous in pain, resolve. Worse, he had discovered taste. A taste for using her own tricks against her. A taste for moving children like pieces without flinching. A taste for being a king instead of a drunk. She opened her eyes again and stared at the barred window. A thin sliver of night sky showed between iron bars. A single star, distant and cold. "I built this," she whispered. "This throne, this court, this kingdom of lies. I held it together while he drank." The door's lock scraped. The guard outside straightened. The door opened. Eddard Stark entered, face shadowed by candlelight. He wore no helm, no cloak, only dark wool and the weight of too many deaths. 2 Stark men followed and remained by the door, hands near hilts. Cersei's lips curved. "Lord Hand," she said, "come to gloat." Ned's eyes were tired. "I came to ask where your son went," he said. "No ornament, no courtly dance." Cersei laughed softly. "As if I would tell you," she said. Ned stepped closer, stopping just beyond the bars. "He will start a war," he said. "If he is with Tywin, thousands will die." Cersei's gaze sharpened. "And you think I care?" she asked. "You brought war the moment you opened that book." Ned's jaw flexed. "Children will die," he said again, more fiercely now. Cersei leaned forward, gripping the bars with bruised hands. "Children already die," she hissed. "In Flea Bottom, in the Riverlands when your king's justice arrives too late, in castles when men decide honor matters more than mercy." Her eyes burned. "Do not pretend you are here to spare children. You are here to win." Ned held her gaze. "Yes," he said quietly, "I am." The simplicity of it made her pause. For a heartbeat, she saw the man behind the honor. A father who had almost lost his daughters on wet stone steps. A man whose fear had become steel. "Then we understand each other," she said, voice low. "You will do what you must. So will I." Ned's eyes narrowed. "Where are Myrcella and Tommen?" he asked. Cersei's breath hitched. She mastered it with effort. "Beyond your reach," she said, and hoped it was true. "Or beyond mine. I no longer know which is worse." Ned's expression tightened. "They are being sent to Dragonstone," he said. "Under guard. Under the faith." The words landed like a slap. Dragonstone. Stannis' rock. A fortress that smelled of salt and resentment. Cersei's fingers tightened around the bars until her bruises screamed. "You give my children to the man who wants my head," she whispered. Ned did not flinch. "I give them to the safest place we can reach tonight," he said. "If you had not turned every gate into a trap, we might have chosen differently." Cersei laughed, bitter. "Ah," she said. "So it's my fault you use my children as hostages." "We are not the same," Ned said sharply. Cersei's smile sharpened. "No," she agreed. "You tell yourself you are better. That is your favorite lie." Ned's gaze hardened. "Your trial will be soon," he said. "You will have a septon. You will have witnesses. If you speak the truth, perhaps you live." Cersei leaned closer, voice low as poison. "The truth is whatever wins," she said. "Remember that when your honorable king is on his knees and my son is crowned." Ned stared at her a long moment. Then he turned away as if she were no longer worth the air. At the door, he paused. "One more thing," he said without looking back. "If you try to bribe my men, I will cut out the tongue that carries your offer. If you try to threaten them, I will hang the hand that delivers it. If you try to escape," he finally looked back then, eyes like winter. "I will not chase you," he said. "I will burn every road behind you until the realm itself has nowhere to run." Cersei's laughter died in her throat. He left. The lock scraped shut. boots retreated. Silence returned, thicker now. Cersei sat very still, staring at the door as if she could see through it. "Burn roads," she whispered. Then she smiled, slow and terrible. "Let him try," she said to the bars, to the stone, to the distant star. "I learned long ago, fire is not the only thing that SP reads." Tywin Lannister did not rise when the boy entered. That alone would have been insult enough for Joffrey, if the boy had not been too tired and too filthy and too full of rage to notice everything at once. Mud clung to his boots. Fog dampened his cloak. His hacked hair made him look less like a prince and more like a feral thing that had crawled out of a ditch. Tywin watched him with the calm of a man appraising a weapon. "This is your king," Jaime had said on the road, as if repeating it would make it true. Tywin did not repeat it. He let silence do the measuring. Joffrey stood before the table, fists clenched, and finally could not stand it. "Grandfather," he snapped, "they called me bastard. They took my brother and sister. They chained my mother. They—" "Be quiet," Tywin said. The words were soft. They landed like a mailed fist. Joffrey's mouth opened, then closed. His cheeks flushed. He looked to Jaime for support and found none. Kevan Lannister cleared his throat, holding up a raven scroll. "From King's Landing," he said. "Robert Baratheon has proclaimed the Queen under arrest and named Lord Stannis Baratheon his lawful heir. He declares Joffrey, styled Baratheon, a fugitive and traitor, and commands all lords to seize him." Joffrey's eyes widened. "He can't," he hissed. "He can't declare that. You are what the realm believes you are," Tywin said, eyes still on the map. "At present, the realm is being told you are a bastard and a fugitive." Joffrey's voice trembled with fury. "Then we tell them he's lying," he snapped. "We tell them he's mad. We tell them." "We do not tell," Tywin said. "We show." He lifted a small lion pin and set it down near the trident, then another beside it. His hand was steady. His eyes were not on the pins. They were on the road in his mind. "Cersei is captured," Kevan said quietly. Tywin's mouth tightened by a fraction. "Yes," he said. "That is inconvenient." Joffrey surged forward, the audacity of youth spilling out. "You must save her," he demanded. "Now, ride to King's Landing and burn them out. Kill Stark. Kill Stannis. Kill father. He's not my father, he's—" Tywin's gaze lifted, and Joffrey's words died. There was no anger in Tywin's eyes, only judgment. "My daughter chose a game and played it poorly," Tywin said. "I will not rescue her by charging blind into a castle full of wolves and stags simply because you are afraid and loud." Joffrey's throat worked. "I'm not afraid," he whispered, and it sounded like a lie even to him. Tywin ignored it. "You will sit," he said. A chair was pushed forward. Joffrey sat because everyone in the tent waited for him to sit, and because Tywin had decided he would. Jaime's jaw tightened. He looked away, as if remembering other kings ordered to sit. "Now," Tywin said, voice turning slightly toward instruction, "we decide what the realm must believe tomorrow, and the day after. Belief is a fortress stronger than Maegor's." Kevan shifted. "Renly Baratheon has crowned himself in the Reach," he said, "with Tyrell's support." Faint pause. Then Tywin nodded. "Good," he said. Joffrey blinked. "Good?" he repeated, incredulous. "Renly draws the realm's attention south," Tywin said. "He divides the stags. Robert bleeds. Stannis hardens. Stark tries to hold them together with honor." His mouth barely moved. "A fractured enemy is easier to defeat than a united one." Joffrey's fists clenched again. "So we crown me," he said eagerly. "Here, now, with banners. Then men will rally." Tywin studied him a long moment. "Not yet," he said. The words struck Joffrey like a slap. "Not yet," Joffrey snarled. "They've already named me traitor." "And if we crown you now," Tywin said calmly, "we crown a boy accused of bastardy by the sitting king, with no proof presented to counter it, while your mother sits in chains. He leaned slightly forward. That would make you look desperate. Weak. Joffrey's breathing quickened. What do we do then? Tywin's gaze slid to the map again, to the Riverlands already dotted with lion pins. We make the Riverlands scream louder, he said. So Robert must choose between defending his city and defending his lords. We make his justice look like cruelty and his mercy look like weakness. We spread the story that Stark has seized innocent children and sent them to Dragonstone to be held by a hard, unloved heir. He looked at Joffrey. We make people pity you. Joffrey's lip curled. I don't want pity, he spat. I want fear. You will take what wins, Tywin said. Fear comes later. He gestured to Kevin. Send ravens, he said, to every bannerman. Quietly. No proclamations. We ride east in stages. We do not announce ourselves until the field is ready. And Cersei? Jaime asked, voice tight. Tywin's gaze flicked to him. Cersei will endure, he said. If she cannot endure, she should not have played. Jaime's eyes hardened, but he said nothing. Tywin leaned back, fingers steepled. We will also send word to Renly, he said. Not as allies, as encouragement. Let him believe we might treat with him if he weakens Stannis and Robert. Kevin frowned. Renly may refuse. Tywin's mouth barely moved. He will not refuse attention, he said. Few men do. Joffrey sat very still, trying to make sense of a war that did not move at the speed of his rage. Tywin looked at him one last time. You will learn, he said almost softly, that a crown is not taken by shouting. It is taken by making everyone else believe they have no choice but to place it on your head. Joffrey swallowed, hatred settling into something colder. Then make them believe, he whispered. Tywin's eyes were like pale green stone. I intend to, he said. Rain fell like a punishment. It hammered leaves and soaked cloaks and turned every footstep into mud. The Riverlands did not have the decency to burn dry. It burned wet, smoke mixing with rain until the world smelled like ash drowned in water. Beric Dondarrion rode at the head of what was left of his band and felt the weight of each dead man like another plate of armor strapped to his shoulders. They had failed against the mountain. They had fled. And now the raiders hunted them. Wolves with lion teeth, eager to turn retreat into slaughter. The arrow came without warning. A hiss, a jolt, a sudden, ugly impact that knocked Beric's breath out, as if a fist had punched through his chest. He looked down and saw the shaft sticking from his mail, feathered end trembling. For a heartbeat, he did not feel pain. Then pain arrived all at once, hot and spreading, and the forest tilted. He fell from his horse into the mud with a wet sound. Men shouted. Stilrang! Someone screamed. Beric's vision blurred, rain streaking it into gray lines. Thoros of Myr was suddenly there, sliding down beside him on his knees, red robes dark with water, bald head shining under rain. Hold, Thoros murmured. Hold, you stubborn fool. Beric tried to speak. Blood bubbled at his lips. The rain tasted metallic as it mixed with it. Thoros, he rasped. Leave me. Shut up, Thoros said, and for once the priest sounded like a soldier. I'm tired of burying good men. A sword fight raged around them. Beric's men trying to hold the line, raiders pressing in with cruel laughter. Lightning flashed, illuminating faces twisted in effort and hunger. Thoros's hands went to Beric's chest, fingers pressing around the arrow. If I pull it, he muttered, you bleed out. If I leave it, you drown in your own blood. He laughed once, a harsh bark. Lovely choices. Beric's eyes half closed. The world narrowed to the rain on his face, to the weight of the arrow, to the priest's hands. I failed, Beric whispered. Thoros leaned close, breath warm in the cold rain. No, he said softly. You tried. That is more than most. Beric's vision went dark at the edges. Somewhere far away, he heard Thoros shout something in a language that was not Westerosi. Harsh syllables that seemed to tear at the air itself. Then heat, not the heat of blood or fever, something deeper, something that did not belong in rain. Thoros' hands began to glow in the torchlight as if fire lived under his skin. His beads snapped in his fist. His voice rose, chanting now louder, drowning out the rain. "Lawler," he called, "Lord of Light, hear me." Men around them faltered, staring. Even the raiders paused, laughter dying as if they had bitten into something rotten. Thoros pressed his hands harder into Beric's chest. Pain flared, white, searing, impossible. Beric's body arched. The arrow shaft snapped as if struck by unseen force. Smoke rose from wet mail. Beric tried to scream. No sound came. In the dark behind his eyes, he saw fire. He saw a hall burning. He saw a crown melting. He saw a stag with antlers of flame. He saw a woman with green eyes laughing as a city collapsed. He saw snow falling on corpses. Then he saw nothing at all. And then breath. A violent, desperate inhale that tore through him like a blade ripping cloth. Beric's eyes snapped open. He coughed, hard, and blood poured out in a thick, choking rush. Thoros fell back, panting, rain streaming down his face like tears. "7 hells," someone whispered nearby. Beric's hands clawed at the mud. He stared up at Thoros, confused and furious and alive. "What?" he croaked. "What did you do?" Thoros laughed again, but this time it was shaky. "I prayed," he said. "For once in my life, I prayed like I meant it." Beric's chest burned. Every breath felt wrong, like borrowed air. He reached up and felt the torn mail, the blood, the slickness. The arrow was gone. Around them, the fight resumed with sudden, terrified violence. Raiders backed away, crossing themselves or spitting charms. Beric's men surged, emboldened by miracle or madness. Thoros grabbed Beric's shoulder. "Can you stand?" he demanded. Beric looked at his own hands, trembling. He looked at the rain. He looked at the men staring at him like he was a ghost. "I don't know," he whispered. Thoros' eyes were wild, bright. "Then stand anyway," he said, "because the dead don't get to rest in this cursed land, and neither do we." Beric pushed himself up out of the mud, shaking, breath ragged. He had died. He was not allowed to stay dead. And in that brutal truth, the Riverlands found a new kind of justice, one that did not end at the grave. The Reach moved like a living garden uprooted. It rolled down the Rose Road in green and gold waves, pikes like stems, banners like blossoms, armor catching sunlight in bright flashes. Wagons creaked under barrels of grain and casks of wine, as if they marched to a feast rather than a war. Men sung. Horses snorted. Drums beat a rhythm that made the ground feel like it was breathing. Renly rode at the front, crown on his head, cloak snapping behind him. He looked effortless in armor, as if he had been born for it. That too was part of the war. Men followed what looked inevitable. Mace Tyrell rode near him, smiling so broadly it looked painful. Loras's eyes never stopped scanning. Roadside, tree line, distant hills, as if expecting Stannis to leap from the earth with a sword. Marjorie traveled in a carriage draped in green cloth, curtains drawn back just enough that the men could see their queen watching them. She smiled when they cheered. She lowered her gaze when they bowed. She played her part with the calm of someone who had rehearsed it her whole life. Olenna sat opposite her, hands folded over her cane, eyes sharp. "Do you think he believes it?" Olenna asked softly. Marjorie's smile did not change. "Which part?" she asked. "That he can keep the realm from burning by putting a pretty crown on his head," Olenna said. Marjorie's gaze flicked toward Renly, bright in the sun. "He believes he can win," she said. "That is enough to make other men believe it too." Olenna snorted. "Belief is a fine cloak," she said, "but it doesn't stop arrows." Outside, Renly turned in his saddle to look back at the endless line of soldiers. "We'll take Storm's End first," he said to Loras, loud enough for nearby lords to hear. "My seat, my proof. Once the Storm Lords see me at its gates with the Reach behind me, they'll come flocking." "And if Stannis holds it?" Loras asked. Renly's smile sharpened. "Then we starve him out," he said. "He knows sieges. Let him taste one from the other side." Mace chuckled. "Storm's End will open its gates to you," he said confidently. "It always loved a Baratheon." Renly did not answer. He was thinking of ravens. Robert's proclamation had arrived. Joffrey fugitive, Cersei arrested, Renly traitor. The words had been blunt, heavy, desperate. Renly had laughed when he read them, because Robert always tried to solve politics with the same voice he used on battlefields. But laughter did not change the fact that Robert still lived. That was the thorn in every rose. "He's bleeding," Renly said quietly, more to himself than to anyone. "He won't last." Loras's eyes flicked toward him. "And if he does?" he asked. Renly's smile returned, bright as sun. "Then we make the realm ask whether a wounded king and a hard heir and a northern hand deserve to rule more than a new king with a full belly and a full army," he said. "We make it a choice men want to make." Marjorie watched him through the carriage curtains, her expression unreadable. Olenna watched her watching. "You see," Olenna murmured. "He knows how to sell." Marjorie's voice was soft. "Selling wins wars as much as swords," she said. Olenna's eyes narrowed. "And what does selling cost?" she asked. Marjorie's smile flickered for a heartbeat, then steadied. "Whatever it costs," she said. The army marched on, swallowing miles, leaving trampled flowers and churned earth behind. The Reach carried summer with it like a banner, and Renly wore that summer like armor. He did not yet feel winter's breath at his back, but it was coming. The sea did not care that Sansa Stark was a lady. It rose and fell like a giant's shoulder shrugging her off. It slapped the ship's sides with cold indifference, sending white spray over the bow to sting faces and soak cloaks. The sky above was a low, bruised gray, and the horizon was a knife edge where water met cloud. Sansa clung to the railing and retched until nothing came up but bitter water and breath. Her hair was plastered to her cheeks, her eyes red. She hated herself for being weak. She hated the sea for making her weak. She hated her father for putting her here. Arya stood a few paces away, cloak drawn tight, feet planted wide like a sailor. She did not retch. She did not cry. She watched the waves as if daring them to swallow her. A guard, older, with a scar across his brow, watched them both with the steady patience of a man who had seen fear in many forms. "Land soon," he muttered, as much to reassure himself as them. Sansa lifted her head, swallowing hard. "Where?" she rasped. "White Harbor," the guard said. "If the winds don't change their minds." White Harbor. The name tasted like home and distance at once. Sansa had never seen it. She had only heard of it in passing. Manderleys and ships and fish, a place that smelled of salt but belonged to the north. Arya's gaze stayed on the horizon. "Do you think they'll follow us?" she asked. The guard's mouth tightened. "They tried," he said. "At the river. They might try again. But the sea makes it harder." "Harder?" Arya echoed, and something in her voice hardened too. She thought of Syrio on the stairs, stick in hand, shouting a lesson into mist. She thought of the way the boat had pulled away while men died for the space of a few oarstrokes. Harder did not mean impossible. Sansa's fingers tightened around the rail. "Joffrey will be angry," she whispered, and the words sounded foolish even to her now. Arya's head snapped toward her. "Joffrey can choke," she said, voice raw. Sansa flinched. "Don't," she whispered. "Just don't." Arya's jaw clenched. "He would have had you as a hostage," she said. "He would have smiled while they held a knife at your throat to make father bend." Sansa's eyes filled again, not only with seasickness now. "I don't know what he would have done," she whispered. "I don't know him. I don't know any of them." Arya stared at her, anger and pity warring. For a heartbeat, Arya wanted to shake her sister until the songs fell out. Then the ship lurched, and Sansa doubled over again, helpless. Arya stepped closer despite herself, putting a hand on Sansa's back, awkward and rough. "Breathe," she muttered. Just breathe." Sansa's shoulders shook. "I hate you," she whispered into the rail, not meaning it, meaning everything else. Arya's hands stayed there anyway. Behind them, the Stark guards spoke in low voices, watching the sea. Somewhere off the starboard side, a gull cried, sharp and lonely. The ship crested a wave, and for an instant the horizon opened. Arya saw a darker line far ahead. Land, perhaps, or just another storm. She closed her fingers around the hilt of needle beneath her cloak. "Father will win," she whispered, not because she knew, but because she needed it to be true. Sansa lifted her head, eyes wet. "He'll die," she whispered back, and the fear in her voice made Arya's stomach twist. "Shut up," Arya said, harsh. "Don't say that." Sansa's lips trembled. "I'm afraid," she admitted. Arya looked at the sea, at the endless gray, and felt her own fear like a stone in her chest. "So am I," she said. The waves rolled on, indifferent, and far behind them, in the city they were fleeing, the war they could not escape began to pick up speed. Winterfell's hall was warm, but the news was not. Ravens had come in clusters, each one darker than the last. They brought ink that smelled faintly of smoke, as if even parchment could catch fire from King's Landing. Robb Stark stood over the map with his hands braced on the table, posture rigid. He had his father's stillness when he was thinking, but his eyes were too bright, too young, too hungry to do something. Catelyn watched him from the side, hands clasped tightly. Maester Luwin held the letters, his mouth pressed thin. "Cersei captured," Great Jon Umber boomed, slamming a fist on the table. "About time someone put a collar on that lioness." "And Joffrey fled," Roose Bolton said softly, pale eyes calm. "A dangerous cub loose in the woods." "Renly crowned," murmured Meage Mormont, her voice like gravel. "The South tears itself in half." "And father," Robb said, voice tight, "still stands in the middle of it." Luwin cleared his throat. "Lord Eddard writes that your sisters have been sent north by ship," he said. "They should arrive at White Harbor if the seas allow." Catelyn's breath caught. "Alive," she whispered. The word was a prayer. Robb's jaw clenched. "And what of my father?" he demanded. Luwin lowered the letter slightly. "He writes that war is coming," he said. "That Tywin will move, that Renly will march, that Lord Stannis presses for harsh measures. He asks that the North be ready." Great Jon grinned. "Ready?" He roared. "We've been ready since the day we were born. Call the banners, boy. Let's ride south and crack some lion skulls." Catelyn's voice snapped. "No," she said. Every head turned. Catelyn forced herself to stand straight. "No rash ride," she said. "Not yet. Not on Greatjon's thirst and your anger. Your father is hand. He does not call for the North to march. He calls for readiness." Robb's eyes burned. "Readiness means nothing if he dies before we move," he said. The words hung heavy. Catelyn felt the sting of them, because she had thought the same in the quiet of her own mind and hated herself for it. Roose Bolton's soft voice slid into the silence. "If we march," he said, "we commit. We cannot easily pull back once the host is on the King's Road. And the North is not defended by walls alone. Ironborn watch for weakness." "Let them watch," Great Jon snarled. "I'll feed them their own eyes." Meage Mormont snorted. "You'll feed them nothing if you're 1,000 miles south," she said. Robb's hands tightened on the table. "What would you have me do?" he demanded of his mother. "Sit and read ravens while father bleeds?" Catelyn stepped closer. "I would have you be the Stark your father needs," she said. "Not the boy who rides to glory, the lord who thinks beyond his own blood." Robb flinched as if struck. "Beyond his own blood," he echoed bitterly. "He's the one who told me to remember I'm a Stark. And remembering means patience as much as steel," Catelyn said. "We gather our bannermen quietly. We provision. We sharpen. We watch. If your father calls, we answer with strength. If he does not, we do not throw the North into war because the South is mad." Gracjan's mouth twisted. "The South is always mad," he growled. "That's why they need us." Luwin lifted another letter. "There is also word," he said carefully, "that Beric Dondarrion rides in the Riverlands under the king's banner, and that Gregor Clegane burns villages. The Riverlands will cry for aid." Caitlyn's heart tightened. Riverrun, her brother, her father. Robb saw it on her face and his expression softened. Just a fraction. "You want to go," he said. "I want to keep our people alive," Caitlyn said. "All of them, North and Riverlands both. But we cannot do that by charging blind." Robb stared at the map, at the neck, that narrow choke point, at the long road south that swallowed men like a hungry mouth. He inhaled slowly. "Call the bannermen," he said at last. Quietly, "No proclamation, no drams. I want the Umbers and the Karstarks and the Manderleys ready to move within a week if I give the word." Greatjon grinned, satisfied. Roose Bolton's pale eyes flickered with something unreadable. "And," Robb added, eyes meeting his mother's, "I will ride to Moat Cailin. Not south into the Riverlands yet, but to the neck, to put myself where I can move either way." Caitlyn exhaled. It was not the rash march Greatjon wanted. It was not the stillness she had hoped for either. It was a blade held poised. "A good compromise," Luwin said quietly. Robb's mouth tightened. "There are no good choices," he said. "Only choices we can live with." He looked toward the great doors of the hall as if he could see beyond them to the long road. "Father," he whispered under his breath, too soft for anyone but himself. "Hold on." The city gathered the way a wound gathered flies. They came because someone had shouted that the king would speak. They came because rumor had already turned the streets into a tangle of fear. Queen in chains, prince fled, gold cloaks killing gold cloaks, northern wolves in the Red Keep, a hard lord from Dragonstone sharpening knives. They came because hunger always made people curious. Robert stepped onto the balcony and felt the crowd's heat rise like smoke. Below, the yard and the street beyond were packed with faces. Bakers, dockmen, washerwomen, smiths, beggars, sellswords, barefoot children perched on barrels to see. A sea of eyes, some hopeful, some hateful, all hungry for a story that made sense. Robert wore his crown, felt heavier than it ever had. He leaned on the railing because his side would not let him do otherwise, and he hated that too. But when he spoke, his voice still carried. "People of King's Landing," he roared. A murmur surged. Some cheered, some hissed. The sound rolled up like a wave. Robert lifted one hand, and the gold cloaks behind him tightened their line. Stannis stood to Robert's right, rigid and grim. Ned stood to his left, face hard, eyes scanning the crowd as if searching for knives. "I live," Robert shouted. "You've heard whispers that I'm dead or dying. I'm neither yet." Laughter and cheers rippled, uneven. "You've heard that your queen is under arrest," Robert went on. "That is true. Cersei Lannister has been seized for treason against the crown." The crowd's murmur changed pitch. Anger sparked. Devotion sparked. Someone shouted, "Lies!" Another shouted, "Whore!" Someone else shouted, "Seven save her!" Robert let it wash for a heartbeat, then bellowed over it. "You've heard that blood was spilled in my throne room. That is true. It was spilled by traitors who turned steel against their king in his own hall." He pointed down. "The man who sold the city watch to lions is dead. His head will hang above the gate. Let it remind every man in a cloak, gold or otherwise, that treason earns one reward." A hush uneasy, then a shout from the crowd. "Where's the prince?" Robert's jaw tightened. He had known it would come. He raised his chin. "Joffrey," he said, tasting the name like bile, "has fled this city against the crown's command." The crowd erupted, surprise, outrage, confusion. Some shouted for him, some cursed him. Some shouted questions that collided into noise. Robert slammed his palm against the railing. Pain flared. He ignored it. "Listen," he roared. "Joffrey is not in this city, and any man who shelters him against the king's will shelters treason. The crown will punish it. The crowd's murmur turned sharper. Fear crept in. Fear always did when kings spoke of punishment. Ned stepped forward, voice carrying in a different way, colder, clearer. "The king has named his lawful heir," he said. "Lord Stannis Baratheon. The realm will not fall into chaos because a boy runs." Some of the crowd booed at Stannis's name. Others were silent, not knowing it well enough to hate. Stannis's mouth tightened. He did not smile. He did not bow. He stood like law made flesh, and the crowd did what crowds did with hard things. They recoiled. Robert felt it. He felt the realm's resistance, not to him, but to the man beside him. He bared his teeth in something like a grin. "You want a pretty king?" He shouted. "Go to Highgarden and kiss Renly's arse. He's crowned himself in flowers and lies while I bleed for this city." The crowd laughed and jeered and roared at the insult, because insult was easier than politics. Robert leaned forward, eyes sweeping them. "You want bread?" he demanded. "You want safety in your streets? You want your daughters to walk without fear? Then you want one thing, order." He gestured toward Ned and Stannis. "These men will give it," he said. "Not with songs. With steel. With law. With a king who is tired of being mocked by lions and traitors." A stone flew up from the crowd and clattered against the wall below the balcony. Another followed. Someone screamed. Gold cloaks shifted, spears lifting. Ned's hand went to his sword. Robert lifted his hand again, sharp. "No," he growled. "Hold." The gold cloaks held. The crowd surged, then hesitated. Men did not always expect restraint from kings. Confused them. Robert's voice dropped, still carrying. "You can throw stones," he said. "You can curse. But know this, the crown is not your enemy. The men who burn your villages and steal your bread are. The lords who would tear this realm apart for a crown are. I will not let them." He turned his head slightly, eyes narrowing at something in the crowd, movement perhaps, or merely his own paranoia. "Go home," he commanded. "Feed your children, sleep, and know this. If any man tries to turn this city into a battlefield again, I will hang him from these walls myself." The crowd did not cheer cleanly. It murmured. It grumbled. It began to disperse in uneven waves, like water draining from a broken vessel. Robert exhaled, chest tight. Behind him, Stannis's voice was low. "You should not have spoken of Renly like that," he said. "You make him sound like a rival worth mention." Robert's mouth twisted. "He is," he rasped. "That's the problem." Ned's eyes were still on the crowd, watching it scatter. "They believed you," he said quietly. "Some of them. Some is enough," Robert replied. "For now." He leaned heavier on the railing for a moment, pain and exhaustion closing in. And somewhere in the city's twisting streets, men listened and chose which story they liked, and which they were willing to kill for. Stannis did not sleep. He watched fire instead. The chamber was small, chosen for privacy rather than comfort. A brazier burned in the corner, its coals shifting, flame licking up now and then like a tongue tasting air. Shadows writhed on the walls, twisting into shapes that looked too much like antlers. Melisandre stood near the brazier, red hair catching the firelight until she seemed carved from flame. Her face was calm. Her eyes were not. Davos waited by the door, arms folded, discomfort written in the tightness around his mouth. He did not like this room. He did not like the way the air felt thicker when the Red Woman breathed. Stannis held Renly's letter in one hand, the broken seal of a crowned stag and rose in the other. The words inside were polite enough to be insulting. "Brother," Renly had written, "I grieve to hear of your troubles. The realm needs peace. Come to me, bend the knee, and I will forgive you. I will even grant you Dragonstone and name you my heir until Marjorie gives me sons. Let us avoid bloodshed between brothers." Stannis's jaw tightened until his teeth ached. "Forgive," he said, voice flat. "He speaks as if he is already king." Melisandre's smile was small. "In his heart, he is," she murmured. "In his heart, He is a fool, Stannis snapped. The fool often wins, she said softly, because men love fools who make them laugh. Stannis turned the letter in his hand as if considering whether to burn it. The fire seemed to lean toward it, eager. Davos cleared his throat. Renly's got the reach, he said cautiously. A lot of swords, and he's popular. Stannis's eyes flashed. Popularity is not law, he said. No, Davos agreed, but it can fill a battlefield. Stannis looked back at the letter. The brazier crackled. Melisandre stepped closer. The flames showed me 2 crowns, she murmured. One bright and false, surrounded by flowers. One hard and dark, surrounded by smoke. Only one will endure. Stannis's grip tightened. Do not speak in riddles, he said. Tell me what you mean. She lifted one hand over the brazier, palm open. Heat shimmered around her skin. Renly is a bright flame, she said. Bright flames die quickly. They burn out when the wind shifts. You are a coal lord, slow, hot, enduring. But coal must be fed. Davos's unease sharpened. Fed with what? He asked. Melisandre's eyes slid to him. With what the fire demands, she said. Stannis's voice went colder. Say it, he commanded. Melisandre's smile did not reach her eyes. The Lord of Light does not take crowns for free, she said. There must be sacrifice. Stannis's mouth tightened. He looked away from her, toward the dark window where the city lay unseen. I will not burn children, he said. Melisandre's tone remained gentle. No one asked you to, she murmured. Not yet. Davos stepped forward, voice rough. Your Grace, he said to Stannis. Don't listen to. Stannis lifted a hand. Davos stopped, jaw clenched. Stannis stared into the brazier. In the shifting flame, he could almost see the shape of the realm. Renly's banners advancing, Tywin's lions prowling, Robert bleeding on his litter, Ned Stark's honor stretched like a rope about to snap. You want me to kill my brother, Stannis said, and the words tasted like iron. Melisandre did not deny it. Your brother has crowned himself, she said. He has chosen to be your enemy. The fire shows me his end. It is quick. It is necessary. Davos's voice rose despite himself. Kinslaying is cursed, he snapped. Every god in Westeros spits on it. Melisandre's gaze rested on him like heat. Your gods are many, she said. Mine is one, and he is hungry. Stannis's fists clenched. For a heartbeat, Davos thought he might throw the letter into the brazier and then throw Melisandre after it. Instead, Stannis folded the letter slowly and set it on the table. No, he said. Melisandre's brows lifted, the faintest crack in her composure. No, she echoed. No, Stannis repeated, voice hard as stone. Not because I love Renly. I do not. Not because I fear your god. I do not. But because I will not let you steer my hand with visions and hunger. He stared at her. I will answer Renly with law first, with ravens, with offers of pardon if he bends. Melisandre's smile returned, softer now, as if humoring a child. And when he does not? She asked. Stannis's eyes went cold. Then I will take his crown with steel, he said. Not sorcery. The brazier crackled. Davos exhaled a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. Melisandre watched Stannis a long moment, then inclined her head. As you command, she said. But remember, steel breaks. Fire endures. Stannis turned away from the flame and toward the door, already hearing the distant sounds of men preparing for another day of war. Davos, he said. I, your grace. Send ravens to Storm's End, Stannis said. To every Storm Lord. Remind them of their oaths. Tell them Renly's crown is treason and Robert's will stand. Tell them I will forgive those who return to law now. Davos nodded, relieved to have something solid to do. And, Stannis added, voice lowering, watch the Red Woman. If she tries to move without my word. He let the threat hang. Davos met his gaze and nodded again. Melisandre smiled in the brazier's light. unafraid. Stannis left the room with law on his tongue and war in his bones, and the fire behind him hissed softly as if laughing, because it did not care whether men chose steel or flame, only that they chose and that they burned. Tywin Lannister did not rush. He rearranged the world until rushing became unnecessary. Dawn bled into the war pavilion through seams in the canvas, turning the air within into a pale gray soup of smoke and candle tallow. Men came and went in quiet pulses. Messengers, captains, lords who wanted to be seen near power. Tywin listened without moving his face, and when he spoke, it was only to make decisions that locked other men into place like nails. Joffrey sat where Tywin had placed him. Not at the map table, not in the center, but close enough to be observed and far enough to be controlled. The boy's eyes tracked every movement with the hungry impatience of youth, but he did not speak now unless asked. Jaime had made sure of that on the road. Tywin finished the lesson with silence. Kevan Lannister read the latest raven aloud. King Robert has moved the Queen to the Tower of the Hand. He has sent Myrcella and Tommen under escort to Dragonstone. He proclaims Joffrey fugitive and commands all lords to seize him if found. Joffrey's mouth tightened. The word fugitive still tasted like a slap. Tywin's finger moved a lion pin from the west toward the Riverlands. "And Renly?" he asked. "Renly is crowned," Kevan replied. "He marches from Highgarden with Tyrell's strength." Tywin's mouth barely moved. "Good." Jaime's jaw clenched. "Good?" he echoed. "Renly will take half the realm from us." "Renly will take half the realm from Robert," Tywin corrected. "Which is more useful?" Adam Marbrand leaned in. "If we move now," he said, "we can strike the Riverlands hard enough to drag Stark away from King's Landing. Force the hand to choose between his king and his wife's kin." Tywin nodded. "That is the point," he said. "We do not win King's Landing by battering its walls. We win it by making its defenders leave." Joffrey surged forward, unable to contain himself. "Then we march," he snapped. "Now, we take the city and—" Tywin's gaze lifted, and the rest of Joffrey's sentence died in his throat. "You will not command," Tywin said, voice quiet. "Not yet. A king who commands without understanding becomes a dead king with a pretty story." Joffrey swallowed, hands clenched in his lap. Tywin turned his attention back to the map. "Gregor Clegane continues," he said. "Harder, faster.
No patience. Village burn.
Lords howl. The crown bleeds itself trying to answer." Kevan frowned faintly. "That draws hate," he said. "Hate is a tool," Tywin replied. "It can be aimed, can be redirected." He tapped the map near King's Landing. "The crown will call it Lannister cruelty. We will call it chaos caused by Stark's coup and Stannis' hard hand. We will spread the story that Robert's court has become a northern occupation, and that the Queen's children have been stolen and shipped to Dragonstone like prisoners." Jaime's eyes narrowed. "They are wards," he said, as if the word mattered. Tywin looked at him. "Wards," he repeated. "Hostages in any other tongue." Jaime did not answer. Tywin turned his gaze to Joffrey again. "You will be seen," he said, "but not yet crowned. Not yet proclaimed in a way that forces men to commit too early. First, the realm must be made to doubt Robert's story. Doubt is the knife that slips under armor." Joffrey's voice came smaller, begrudging. "How?" Tywin's finger traced a line down the Rose Road. "Renly's crown gives us cover," he said. "He will shout that Stannis is too harsh and Robert too weak. He will claim he must save the realm from a divided court. While men argue over which stag is lawful, we move lions through the Riverlands and tighten the net around King's Landing." Kevan hesitated. "And Renly himself?" he asked. "If he wins too much, he becomes a threat." Tywin's eyes were cold. "If Renly wins too much, he will learn that crowns invite knives," he said. "For now, he serves us by splitting the stags. Later, he can be handled." Adam Marbrand shifted. "We have another lever," he said. "Cersei." The name tightened the air. Tywin's gaze did not flicker. "Cersei is alive," he said. "That is enough." If Stark and Robert keep her alive, they are restrained. If they kill her, they become butchers and give us the realm's pity. Either way, they bleed. Jaime's hands flexed once, then stilled. Tywin set a lion pin near Harrenhal and another near the trident. "Send ravens," he said, "to every lord who owes us coin or fear. Quietly, no banners yet. We move in stages. We let the Riverlands scream. We let Robert shout from his balcony. We let Stannis threaten. And we let Renly march in green and gold like a storybook king." He looked at Joffrey, and for the first time his voice carried something like instruction meant to be remembered. "When the time comes," Tywin said, "you will be presented not as a boy fleeing justice, but as a wronged prince pursued by northern lies. You will look pious. You will look controlled. You will look inevitable." Joffrey swallowed, hatred settling into a harder shape. "And Robert," he whispered. Tywin's finger paused on the map at King's Landing, then pressed down. "Robert is a wounded beast," he said. "Wounded beasts either die or lash out. We will make sure that when he lashes, he strikes at air." The great September of Baelor smelled of wax, incense, and the sweat of too many frightened men. Ned had argued against holding anything public inside the city's heart, where crowds could turn into a mob in the space between breaths. Stannis had argued that secrecy bred rumor and rumor bred rebellion. Robert had settled it with a grim sort of compromise. Not the throne room, not the streets, but the September, where the faith's presence would steady the air, and where the Seven's cold stone eyes would remind even the boldest tongue that gods listened. Cersei came in chains. They had not shackled her like a common thief, no iron collar, no dragging her by the hair, but the chains at her wrists were real and heavy, and the sound they made on the Sept's marble floor carried farther than any insult. Gold cloaks flanked her, faces hard, spears angled down. Behind them walked stark men with gray eyes and hands near swords. Barristan Selmy's white cloak stood out like snow among soot. Cersei's chin was lifted. She did not look at the statues. She looked straight ahead, as if the gods were beneath her notice. Robert sat on a chair beneath the crystal crown of the Sept's great dome, the iron throne absent but the true weight of kingship pressing harder for that absence. He wore his crown. The black and gold of House Baratheon hung on his shoulders like a promise. His face was pale, his eyes bloodshot, and yet when Cersei's chains rattled, something in his expression steadied into iron. "This is not a trial yet," Ned said quietly to him. "This is the reading of charges and the setting of terms. Keep it clean." Robert's lip curled. "Clean," he muttered, tasting the word like a joke, but he nodded once. The High Septon's representative, a stern, thin man with a soft voice and sharp eyes, stood near the altar, hands folded into his sleeves. "By the Seven," the Septon intoned, "let truth be spoken without blade." Stannis stood a few paces behind Robert, rigid, hands clasped behind his back. He looked as if he would have preferred the blade to the prayer. Cersei stopped before them. Robert stared at her. "You tried to kill me," he said, voice rough but carrying in the marble space. "You conspired to dull my wits and leave me to die in the woods. You betrayed my bed. You placed another man's seed in my line and named it mine." Cersei's eyes glittered. "Seed," she repeated softly. "You speak of seed as if you ever bothered to tend anything you planted." A murmur rippled through the witnesses. Minor lords, septons, captains, men who wanted to be able to say later they had been present when the realm shifted. Robert's hand tightened on the arm of his chair. Ned could see the urge to roar, to smash, to turn this into a brawl of words. Ned stepped forward a half pace, just enough for Robert to feel him there. Robert breathed out through his nose. "The charges are these," Ned said, voice clear. "High treason against the crown, conspiracy to murder the king, adultery and incest with Ser Jaime Lannister of the Kingsguard, attempted seizure of the king's wards and the daughters of the hand, corruption of the city watch." Cersei laughed quietly. "Incest," she said, as if savoring the scandal. You have no proof beyond a book and a northern obsession. Stannis' voice cut in cold as steel. We have the truth, he said, and your refusal to face it. Cersei's gaze slid to him. The truth, she murmured. Your truth. The one that makes you king and me dead. Robert's eyes narrowed. Your tongue is sharp, he said, but chains dull it. He lifted his chin toward the Septon. The faith will witness. The realm will witness. And you will answer. Cersei's smile sharpened. Answer to what? She asked. To a king who names his brother heir because he has no son? To a hand who drags me in chains while his daughters flee the city like criminals? To Stannis Baratheon, who would burn half the realm if a parchment told him it was lawful. Stannis' nostrils flared. Careful, he said. Or what? Cersei replied. Will you strike me in the sept? Will you prove every fear Renly whispers in his green camps? A few men shifted uneasily at Renly's name, as if it were a wind that could turn torches into wildfire. Robert's voice dropped. Where is Jaime? He demanded. Cersei's eyes flicked once, betraying nothing and everything. Gone, she said. Like your honor. Robert's jaw flexed. And where is Joffrey? He demanded, louder now. Cersei's smile did not fade. Safe, she said. The word hit Ned like a slap. Safe meant Tywin. Safe meant banners. Safe meant men dying far from septs and marble. Robert saw it too. His voice roughened. This is what happens, he said to the witnesses, to the Septon, to the statues that listened without caring. When treason wears a crown, it runs, it hides, it uses children as shields and the faith as a stage. He pointed at Cersei. She will remain in custody, he said. No visitors, no letters, no whispers. Her trial will be held when the realm is ready to hear it and not tear itself apart in the listening. Stannis stepped forward. And if the realm is never ready? He asked, quiet but dangerous. Do we keep a traitor alive forever because men prefer lies? Robert's gaze turned on him, hard. We keep her alive because I will not be Ares, he said. Not in a September. Not anywhere. Stannis' jaw tightened. He did not bow, but he said nothing more. Cersei's chains clinked softly as she shifted her weight. You think keeping me alive makes you merciful, she murmured. It only makes you cautious. Robert leaned forward, pain flashing in his eyes and pride pushing it aside. No, he said, it makes me king. Dragonstone greeted them with salt and stone and the smell of old dragons. The sea hammered the rocks below the dock, gray and relentless. Wind tore at cloaks and made voices sound smaller than they should have. The carved dragons along the castle's edges looked like they were trying to crawl back into the sky. Myrcella stepped onto the wet stone first, boots slipping slightly. She caught herself without crying out, chin lifting automatically, as if she had been trained to pretend every stumble was a graceful choice. Tommen followed and nearly fell outright until Davos caught him by the elbow, steady as a ship's rail. Easy, lad, Davos murmured. Tommen looked up at him with blotchy eyes. Is mother here? He whispered. Davos's mouth tightened. He glanced toward Barristan, then toward Stannis. Barristan knelt in front of the boy, white cloak snapping in the wind. Your mother is not here, he said gently. You are safe. That is what matters now. Tommen's lower lip trembled. Myrcella squeezed his hand. Stannis stood at the top of the dock steps like a carved piece of the castle itself, hard, dark, unyielding. He looked down at the children with an expression that could have been contempt if it had not been so carefully controlled. Welcome to Dragonstone, he said, voice flat. Myrcella dipped into a curtsy, precise despite cold and fatigue. My lord, she said. She did not say uncle. She did not say father's brother. Titles were armor. She wore them. Stannis' gaze lingered on her a heartbeat longer than on Tommen. There was intelligence there. Poise. The kind of quiet strength that could become either virtue or weapon, depending on who sharpened it. Your quarters are prepared, Stannis said. You will remain together. You will be treated with dignity. You will be under the faith's care and the crown's guard. You will not leave the castle without my word." Tommen's eyes widened. "Like prisoners," he whispered. "No," Davos said quickly. Like guests." Stannis' eyes flicked to Davos. "Like wards," he corrected. "Words matter." Myrcella's fingers tightened around Tommen's. "Yes, my lord," she said. A soft voice drifted down from above, smooth as warmth in cold air. "Children always feel prisons," Melisandre of Ashai said. She stood on a higher stair, red hair loose, red gown bright against Dragonstone's gray. The wind did not seem to touch her the way it touched others. Her eyes rested on the children with an unsettling focus, as if she were reading something written beneath their skin. Tommen shrank behind Myrcella instinctively. Myrcella did not. She met Melisandre's gaze, chin lifting a fraction higher. Fear flickered in her eyes and was swallowed. Stannis' jaw tightened. "You will not frighten them," he said. Melisandre's smile was small. "I do not try," she murmured. "Fear comes when people see truth they do not wish to see." Barristan rose slowly, placing himself subtly between the Red Woman and the children, as if a white cloak could block prophecy. Davos cleared his throat. "We should get them inside," he said. "Wind's biting." Stannis nodded once. "Inside," he said. "To warmth, to food, to order." Order. The word landed like a weight. As they led the children up the slick steps, Myrcella looked back once at the sea. The ship that had brought them was already being moored deeper, sails lowered, as if it too wanted to hide. "We're far away," Tommen whispered, voice small. Myrcella's throat tightened. "Yes," she whispered back. "That means we're alive." They entered Dragonstone's belly, corridors carved from old volcanic stone, air cool and damp. Their footsteps echoed as if ghosts walked with them. Behind, Melisandre watched and murmured something too soft for anyone to hear. Stannis did not look back. He only clenched his jaw and followed, as if walking behind those children was heavier than walking behind any king. Storm's End did not flinch. It crouched on the cliff like a fist of stone, walls thick enough to swallow arrows, towers rounded to break wind and siege alike. Waves hammered the rocks below with endless rage. The castle had been built to endure storms. It had endured kings too. Renly approached its gate with his crown on his head and his army behind him, and still the gate did not move. Ser Courtenay Penrose stood on the battlement above, cloak snapping, his face weathered and calm. Stormland men lined the wall at his sides, bows lowered but ready. "Open," Renly called, voice carrying over the wind. "Storm's End is mine by blood and right. I am your liege." Penrose leaned on the stone as if at his own leisure. "You are a crown traitor," he called back. "That's what the ravens say." Renly's smile sharpened. "Ravens," he said. "Ink on wings. Robert's been using ravens like a hammer lately. Tell me, sir, does his ink make him stronger? Or does it only prove he's afraid of losing what he barely holds?" A murmur ran through Renly's lords. Approval, laughter, eager. Penrose did not laugh. "King Robert is alive," he called. "He is king, and he named Lord Stannis his heir. If you are a Baratheon, you obey." Renly's jaw tightened. For a heartbeat, something like real hurt flickered. Then it vanished under charm. "I obey the realm," he said. "The realm needs a king who can rule, not a king who bleeds and a brother who hangs. Open the gate, Courtenay. I will forgive your confusion." "Forgive?" Penrose's laugh was short and sharp. "You were a boy when I held this castle against enemies. You were drinking with Tyrells while your brother ate rats in a siege. Don't offer me forgiveness like coin." Loras Tyrell stepped forward, voice tight. "Ser Courtenay, do not be foolish," he called. "You cannot hold against the reach." Penrose's eyes went to him. "I can hold until the sea eats your horses," he replied. "Storm's End does not fear flowers." Mace Tyrell bristled, face reddening. "We can starve you," he boomed. Penrose shrugged. "Then starve me," he called. "But know this, Every day you sit here, Stannis hardens his hold on King's Landing. Tywin moves. The realm chooses without you. Renly's smile thinned. The truth of it stung. He turned slightly, letting his army see his profile, letting them see a king thinking. Then he looked back up. "Very well," he called. "If you won't open for your king, you will open for hunger." He lifted one hand. Drums began to beat. Men moved. Stakes hammered into earth. Tents rising. Siege lines forming with the practiced ease of a host that had marched ready for this all along. Marjorie watched from her carriage, eyes calm. Olenna sat beside her, fingers tapping her cane. "Storm's end will bleed him," Olenna murmured. "If not in bodies, in time." Marjorie's voice was soft. "Time is what he buys with every smile," she said. "He will spend it here." Olenna's eyes narrowed. "And if the cost is too high?" Marjorie's smile did not change. "Then we make sure someone else pays," she said. Above, Penrose watched the camp take shape and felt the old weight of siege settle into his bones like familiar armor. He had held Storm's End once for Stannis against the world. He would hold it now against Renly's crown. And as the first tents snapped in the coastal wind, Storm's End remained closed, stone refusing to acknowledge a king it did not accept. Moat Cailin smelled of damp earth and old bones. The neck was a wet, hungry place. A sprawl of bog and reed and thick mud that swallowed men who strayed off the causeway. The ruined towers of the ancient fort stood like broken teeth, black stone rising from green mire. Ravens perched on crumbling walls and watched with patient eyes. Robb Stark rode in at the head of his vanguard and felt the weight of the land press against him. This was not Winterfell's open strength. This was the North's choke point, narrow and brutal. Great John Umber rode beside him, grinning like a man going to a brawl. Roose Bolton rode on the other side, pale eyes calm as still water. Behind them came Karstarks, Manderly men in heavier mail, gray-cloaked riders from smaller houses, enough steel to make the neck feel crowded. Catelyn rode slightly behind Robb, cloak drawn tight. She watched the towers and thought of old tales. Undul's broken here, kings defeated, blood soaked into bog. "Here," Robb said, and his voice sounded older than his face. Men dismounted. Fires were laid on higher ground. Tents went up in careful rows. The North settled itself into readiness the way a wolf settled before a long run. Quiet, focused, dangerous. A messenger arrived before noon, mud-splattered, breathless. "My lord," he gasped to Robb, holding out a raven scroll. "From King's Landing, from Lord Eddard." Robb took it with hands that did not quite tremble. He broke the seal and read. His face tightened, his eyes lifted, distant. "What?" Catelyn demanded, heart-kicking. Robb swallowed. "The queen is captured," he said. "Joffrey fled to Tywin. Renly is crowned and marches. Father says the city is held, but war comes from every direction." His jaw clenched. "He says my sisters are at sea, bound for White Harbor." Catelyn's breath caught. Relief hit like a wave. Then fear followed immediately because relief never came alone in war. "And father," Great John boomed. "What does he need? Say the word and we march south." Robb's gaze flicked to him. "He says be ready," Robb replied. "He says do not march on rumor. He says the North must not leave itself bare." Great John spat. "He's too cautious," he growled. "Caution gets wolves skinned." Roose Bolton's voice slid in like a blade. "Caution keeps wolves alive long enough to bite," he said softly. Robb stared at the causeway south. It stretched away through the bog like a narrow promise of war. He could almost see the Riverlands beyond it, burning. Could almost see his father in stone halls full of knives. He felt the pull of it, the urge to ride, to gather banners, to crash into the south and tear lions apart with northern steel. Then he remembered his father's hand in his letter. Steady, precise, pleading for patience. Robb exhaled slowly. "We hold the neck," he said. "We strengthen it. We drill. We prepare wagons and provisions. The father calls, we can move fast. If the Ironborn sniff weakness, they find steel instead. Great John grumbled but nodded, because Robb's voice had carried command now, not boyhood. Caitlin watched her son and felt a strange ache. Pride and fear braided. "You're doing what he asked," she said softly. Robb's mouth tightened. "I'm doing what I must," he replied. He looked north, as if he could see through swamp and forest to Winterfell's gray walls and the children left behind. "War is coming," he said, and the words were not a complaint. They were a fact. If the South wants the North, they'll have to wade through our mud first. The neck listened, wet and silent, and waited to swallow whatever came. Beric Dondarrion rode like a man wearing someone else's life. His chest hurt with every breath, but not in the way wounds hurt. This was deeper, a wrongness like his body remembered dying and resented being dragged back. His skin looked too pale under the morning light. His eyes felt too old. The men who followed him watched him with a mixture of fear and devotion. Some had seen him fall. Some had heard the scream choke off. Some had watched Thoros press burning hands to a dead man's chest and shout to a god most of them had never cared about. Now they followed because men clung to miracles when everything else burned. They reached a village at dawn. It was barely a village anymore. Charred frames of houses, a collapsed well, ash drifting in weak wind. A few peasants moved like ghosts among the ruins, gathering what could be gathered. When they saw Beric riding in, they froze. One woman dropped her bundle and fell to her knees. "Seven save us," she whispered. Another man stared, eyes wide, lips moving silently, as if he could not decide which god to pray to. Beric swung down from his horse, boots sinking slightly in damp ash. He felt the eyes on him like weight. "We are the king's men," he said, and his voice sounded hoarse, scraped. "We come for justice." A man with a burned hand stepped forward, trembling. "Justice?" he rasped. "Is that what you call it when lions burn my children?" Beric's throat tightened. "No," he said. "I call that murder." Thoros stood beside him, red robes damp, eyes bright. He held his palm out, and a small flame danced there without consuming his skin. The peasants recoiled. "Lord of Light," Thoros murmured. "He sees your suffering. Does he?" The burned-handed man spat. "Where was he when they took my girl?" Beric looked at the man, and something in him broke and reformed. A different kind of resolve. Not the bright, naive justice he'd ridden out with from King's Landing. Something darker and more enduring. "We will take them," Beric said. "Not in a clean battle with banners. Not in a court. In woods. On roads. At night. We will take them one by one until even lions learn fear." A murmur ran through his men. Approval, hunger. The peasants stared, uncertain. Fear had taught them not to trust promises. Beric reached into his cloak and pulled out a torn strip of cloth, one of the royal banners he'd carried, now stained and ragged. He tied it to the broken signpost in the village center. "This is the king's justice," he said. "Here, where you live, not only in King's Landing." The burned-handed man's eyes flicked to the cloth, then to Beric's face. "You're dead," he whispered suddenly. "My cousin was there. He said you fell. He said you were gone." Beric's mouth tightened. He could feel Thoros watching him, waiting to see how he would answer. "I was," Beric said at last, "and I came back." The peasants' faces shifted, fear and awe twisting together. "Why?" the man whispered. "Why would any god send you back to this?" Beric looked at the ruins, at ash, at children's toys half buried, at smoke-stained stones. "Because someone has to," he said, and his voice steadied. "Because if the dead do not return for justice, the living will never get it." He mounted again. His men gathered, ragged and determined. The peasants watched them go like people watching a storm move past, hoping it might strike their enemies instead. As they rode out, Thoros leaned close. "You feel it," he murmured. "The fire." Beric's eyes stayed forward. "I feel the rope around my neck," he said softly. I feel the mud in my lungs. I feel unfinished. Thoros' smile was strange. Good, he said. Unfinished things do not stop. Beric rode on, half ghost, half lord, carrying a king's banner through a land that had forgotten what kings meant. They caught Varys in a place that made him look ordinary. Not the throne room, not the council chamber, not the dark tunnels where he was king. They caught him in a corridor where the walls were damp and the torchlight made his silk look like any other cloth. Bywater's men stepped out of shadows with practiced speed. Spear points leveled. A sword slid free with a whisper. Varys stopped at once, hands lifting slowly, palms open. His expression was calm, almost amused, as if this were a misunderstanding that could be smoothed with a polite word. "Commander Bywater," Varys said gently, "to what do I owe this attention?" "You owe it to the king," Bywater replied. His voice held no humor. "Turn around." Varys's brows rose faintly. "How dramatic," he murmured, but he turned, slow and compliant, letting gold cloaks search him, patting silk, finding nothing but softness. Ned approached face hard. Robert's litter was behind him, carried by grim men who looked as if they would rather be holding swords. Robert's eyes were bloodshot, his jaw tight, his patience an exposed nerve. "Varys," Ned said. "My lord hand," Varys replied, inclining his head slightly. "You look as if you've misplaced a kingdom." Robert's voice ripped across the corridor. "Did you help him?" he snarled. Varys blinked. "Help whom? Your grace?" "Joffrey," Robert spat. His mouth twisted. "The boy." "Did you help him flee?" Varys's gaze remained soft. "I helped prevent bloodshed," he said. Robert's laugh was a harsh bark that turned into a cough. Pain hit him. He rode it like a wave and spat the taste of copper onto the stone. "Answer," Robert growled. "Yes or no?" Varys's eyes flicked to Ned, as if seeking the more reasonable man. Ned did not soften. "Yes," Varys said at last, "in the sense that I did not bar every door when he ran. In the sense that I understood that if the boy died in your courtyard, you would have drowned in blood for it." Stannis was not present, but Ned could hear his voice in his head anyway. "Hang him." Robert's hands clenched. "So you betrayed me," he said. Varys's mouth tightened. "Regret, or performance of regret." "I served the realm," he said quietly. "And in this moment, the realm may not be perfectly aligned with your pride." Ned's eyes narrowed. "My daughters were attacked," he said. "Men came for them. Did you serve the realm then too?" Varys's gaze dipped. "I warned men who could act," he said. "Your daughters live. They live because Syrio Farrell died," Ned said, and his voice cracked on the name like a stone breaking ice. For a heartbeat, something flickered across Varys's face. Not pity, not guilt, calculation, adjusting. "Many die," Varys said softly. "That is why I move pieces before they are crushed entirely." Robert surged forward on the litter, as far as his wound would allow. "You move pieces," he snarled. "You move my life, my city, my children." His eyes burned. "My shame, like you're playing some little game in tunnels." Varys's hands remained raised, palms open. "It is not a game," he said. "It is survival." Bywater's spear point nudged forward, pressing into Varys's silk. "Enough," Bywater said. "You'll speak to the king in his chamber, or you'll speak to Ser Island in the yard. Your choice." Varys's eyes flicked to the spear, then back to Robert. "If you kill me," he said gently, "you will lose what you cannot replace. Eyes in every alley, ears in every hall. Spiders can be crushed, but the flies will still come. And without me, you will not know where they land." Robert's teeth bared. "I don't trust flies," he rasped. Ned's voice was low. "You will be held," he said, "in a cell, not a chamber. You will write down everything you know about Joffrey's route, Tywin's plans, Renly's march, and every tunnel you've ever used. If you lie," Varys smiled faintly, "you will not hesitate," he said. "Yes, I have learned that about you, Lord Stark. Robert's gaze stayed locked on him. You're not dead, Robert said. Not yet, because part of me believes you when you say you're useful. His voice turned to gravel. But if I smell you twisting one more thread against me, I'll hang you from the walls and let the city's birds pick your eyes out, and I'll call it a lesson in survival. Varys bowed his head slightly. As you command, he murmured. Bywater gestured. Men seized Varys by the arms, not roughly but firmly, because silk moved best when guided. Varys did not struggle. He only turned his head slightly and said, almost conversationally, "The realm is choosing kings quickly now." Ned's eyes hardened. "Then we must move faster," he said. Robert stared down the corridor where Varys was being taken and felt the old, wild urge to smash every game board in the world. He could not smash time, so he did the next best thing. He began to plan like a man who finally understood that winning a war did not mean winning peace. Tywin's raven reached Renly's camp on the third day of marching. It arrived as the sun bled red behind the hills, casting long shadows over tents and pickets. Men cheered somewhere nearby as if war were still a festival. Horses stamped, cooks stirred pots. The reach moved like a confident beast. Renly took the letter in his own hand. The lion seal stared up at him like an insult. He broke it. Mace Tyrell hovered close, eyes gleaming. Olenna sat nearby, cane across her lap, mouth pursed. Marjorie watched from behind her wine cup, expression smooth. Loras stood to Renly's other side, posture tight. Renly read, and his smile grew slower, more careful. Tywin wrote as if he were speaking to an equal. That alone was an offer. He did not bend the knee. He did not call Renly king. He did not call him traitor either. He called him Lord Renly Baratheon. And within that title was room for all kinds of futures. The gist was simple and dangerous. Tywin suggested that Robert's court had become a nest of northern ambition and Dragonstone severity, that the queen had been seized unlawfully, that her children had been taken as hostages. He suggested that the realm needed a reasonable solution, one that prevented Stannis' harshness from choking the south. Tywin offered coin. He offered quiet support. He offered, most importantly, the promise that Lannister steel would not fall on Renly's rear while he marched on King's Landing. In return, Tywin asked for two things: Cersei alive, and the question of the children's legitimacy buried under a great council that could be guided toward peace. Mace exhaled like a man-smelling prophet. "He wants you," he said, delighted. "He wants to deal." Olenna's eyes narrowed. "He wants to use," she corrected. Loras's voice was tight. "He wants to save his daughter," he said, "and keep his blood near the throne." Renly folded the letter slowly, feeling its weight. "He wants a realm that doesn't hang him for treason," he said, almost amused. "And he wants someone else to do the dirty work of breaking Robert and Stannis." Marjorie's gaze was steady. "Can we use him first?" she asked softly. "Before he uses us?" Olenna's mouth twitched. "That's the only reason to dance with lions," she said. Renly looked out toward the army. Green banners rippling, men laughing around cookfires, knights polishing armor as if shine could stop death. "Robert lives," Renly said quietly, and the words held both irritation and something darker. "If Robert died, this would be easy. Stannis would be the enemy, law would be the sword, and I would be the shield the realm wanted." "And now?" Loras asked. Renly's smile returned, bright as ever. "Now I must be the shield against two enemies," he said. "Stannis' law and Tywin's gold." Mace leaned in eager. "Then take Tywin's gold," he urged. "Let him break Stannis for you." Olenna's cane tapped once on the ground. "And let him put a leash on you," she said. "Lions love leashes. They call them alliances." Renly turned the letter over in his hands. "We do not answer yet," he decided. "Not with yes, not with no. We answer with ambiguity. Enough to keep his hopes alive." Marjorie's smile was small. "Hope makes men predictable," she said. Renly looked at her. and in her calm eyes he saw the future he wanted. A court that smiled while it cut. "Exactly," he said. He glanced at Loras. "Send a raven," he said. "Polite, warm, vague. Tell Tywin I share his concern for the realm. Tell him I do not wish to see Cersei harmed. Tell him I will consider a great council once I have secured Storm's End and the Storm Lords." Loras's jaw clenched. "And if he hears that as agreement?" he asked. Renly's smile sharpened. "Let him," he said. "Men do more for what they think they're about to win than for what they've already got." Olenna watched him, eyes bright. "Careful, stag," she murmured. "Lions bite when they realize the rope is in your hands." Renly's grin did not fade. "Then I'll keep my hands strong," he said. He tucked the letter away and stepped out into the camp's noisy dusk, wearing confidence like armor while the realm's true teeth closed in around them all. Robert insisted on armor the way a drowning man insisted on air. They tried to talk him out of it. Ned with cold reason, Barristan with quiet caution, the maester with trembling hands and muttered words about stitches and fever. Even Stannis, in his own harsh way, warned him that a king dead in his armor was still dead. Robert listened and ignored them all. He sat on a bench in a small armory room and let men strap leather and steel to him in careful stages, as if building him into a weapon. Every tug at the straps pulled at the bandage beneath. Every tightening made his side burn. Sweat stood on his brow in cold beads. Ned watched from the doorway, arms folded, expression grim. "You will tear yourself open," he said. Robert grunted. "Then I'll bleed in a way that matters," he rasped. Stannis stood near the wall, hands behind his back, eyes like chips of ice. "You don't need to ride," he said. "You need to command." "I've been commanding from a bed for 15 years, Robert snapped. "Look where it got me." Barristan held Robert's helmet, a black helm with small antlers worked into the brow. "Your Grace," he said gently. "If you fall on a field, the realm falls with you." Robert's mouth twisted. "The realm's already falling," he said. "I'm just deciding which way it lands." He tried to stand. His legs shook. He forced them still with sheer stubbornness. Ned's eyes narrowed. "Where do you intend to go?" he demanded. Robert looked at him. "To the gates," he said. "To the walls. To the men. I'm tired of ravens carrying my courage for me. Renly marches. Tywin gathers. The city whispers. I want my soldiers to see their king standing, not rotting." Stannis's jaw tightened. "And if you collapse?" he asked. "Then you catch me," Robert said, and there was a dark humor in it. "Or you let me fall and take the crown faster. Either way, you win, brother." Stannis's eyes flashed, but he said nothing. Ned stepped forward, voice low. "You are not doing this for the men," he said. "You are doing it because you cannot bear being seen weak." Robert's nostrils flared. He admitted. "And because weakness invites knives. You should understand that, Stark. Your honor is a target. My wounds are a target. If I show the realm I can still stand, I make them think twice." "Or you make them aim better," Ned replied. Robert bared his teeth. "Let them aim," he said. "I'm tired of being hunted." Barristan lowered the helmet toward him. Robert took it with both hands, hesitated as if feeling the weight of old battles, then set it on his head. The world narrowed through the visor slit. His breath echoed inside the steel. "Ready," Robert rasped. Ned stared at him and saw, for a moment, the old warlord, bloody and laughing on the trident, swinging a hammer that made princes fall. Then the moment cracked, and Ned saw the truth. A king stitched together by pain and pride, walking on the edge of death because he could not stand still. "If you die," Ned said quietly, "this war becomes a different war." Robert's voice came muffled through the helm. "If I die," he said, "then make sure it becomes a war we win." He turned toward the door. The armor creaked. His side screamed. He moved anyway, because Robert Baratheon had never known how to retreat gracefully. Dawn broke thin and sharp. Wind swept along the walls of the Red Keep, carrying the smell of the river and the city's waking sweat. Below, King's Landing stirred uneasily. Shutters opening, hawkers shouting with less confidence than before, small knots of people gathering where they should have dispersed. Fear made the city restless. Hunger made it mean. Robert stood on the wall in armor, one gauntlet hand gripping the stone, the other resting on a sword that was not his hammer but would do. He leaned more than he wanted to. The stone held him up. He pretended it was only casual. Ned stood to his left, cloak snapping, eyes scanning the streets for movement that didn't belong. Stannis stood to Robert's right, rigid, face turned toward the horizon as if he could see enemies forming there in the air itself. Ravens burst from the rookery behind them in a sudden black scatter, wings beating hard. They rose into the pale morning and split apart toward every corner of the realm, carrying proclamations and warnings and half-truths wrapped in wax. Robert watched them go and felt something like grief. Once, he had won a crown with a hammer and a shout. Now he fought for it with birds. "Look," Ned said quietly. Far to the northeast, a thin column of smoke rose against the morning sky, too distant to see its source, but too steady to be a hearth. The Riverlands again. Another village. Another message written in fire. Tywin's hand, Robert thought. Always Tywin's hand. Stannis' mouth tightened. "He burns," he said. "He always burns," Robert replied. "It's his way of speaking." Below, soldiers were forming lines in the yard, gold cloaks under Bywater's hard control, men-at-arms of the crown, a few knights whose banners still flew in the keep. They moved with purpose now, because purpose was infectious when a king stood where they could see him. A shout rose from the city street near the gate as a crowd pressed closer, faces tilted up toward the walls. "They want to see you," Ned murmured, as if that were both warning and weapon. Robert's lip curled. "Let them," he said. "Let them remember who holds this castle." He stepped closer to the crenellation, pain flashing bright behind his eyes and then receding under stubbornness. He lifted his head so the crown helm caught the new light. "People of King's Landing." He roared, and the sound rolled down the stone like thunder. The crowd's noise surged up in answer, cheers, curses, questions. A living thing. Robert let it wash for a heartbeat, then cut through it again. "You want to know who rules?" he shouted. "Look up." "Ido." The roar below shifted. Some cheered, some spat, but all listened. "You hear of pretenders crowned in roses," Robert bellowed. "You hear of lions prowling and princes hiding. You hear whispers that your king is weak." He leaned forward, voice rough and relentless. "I am wounded," he admitted. "Not weak. I am still your king. And any man who brings war to my city will learn that walls have teeth." Behind him, Stannis watched the crowd with cold eyes, as if measuring how many would need hanging. Ned watched with grim focus, as if measuring how many could be saved. Robert pointed toward the Rose Road in the distance where he could not see Renly but could feel him like a thorn under skin. "Renly Baratheon has crowned himself," he shouted. "He has broken faith with his brother and his king. Any lord who rides under his banner rides against the Iron Throne." The crowd murmured, unsettled by the clarity. Simple proclamations were easier to digest than complicated truths. "And Tywin Lannister burns your fields and your kin," Robert went on, voice hardening. "He will be answered. I swear it." Stannis' head turned slightly at that oath, as if taking it as binding. Ned's jaw tightened, already thinking of how to answer a fire with limited water. Robert's voice dropped, still carrying. "You will have bread," he said. "You will have order. You will have peace, when the men who steal it are broken." He raised his gauntlet fist once, and the crowd below responded with a jagged, hungry sound, half cheer, half howl. Robert stepped back from the crenellation as if the wall itself had taken enough of him. He gripped the stone harder, breathing through pain. Ned leaned close, voice low. "You cannot hold them forever with words," he said. Robert's mouth twisted. "Then we hold them with steel," he rasped. Stannis' voice was quiet, lethal. And with law, he added. Robert looked out over the city, over the river, over the distant smoke, and felt the realm's weight pressing down on his stitched side. He had survived the Boar. Now he had to survive the storm he'd woken by living. And as ravens vanished into the morning and banners began to move across Westeros, the first true shape of the war finally emerged. 3 crowns, 1 realm, and no one left with clean hands.